Hey everyone and welcome back. Now today I wanted to go over a quick review of ICP just because we have seen some less than optimal price action on the chart lately. And so I wanted to basically just go in and do kind of a quick overview of where the ICP ecosystem is sitting currently to see if the lagging that we've seen in price, especially over recent weeks, is something that we should actually be concerned about, or if this is just price action doing what price action does, irrespective of what's actually going on with the developments within the market and whatnot. So anyway, that's what I want to check out today. So starting out, I wanted to check crypto bubbles just to kind of give us a look at what we're seeing. Obviously, aside from Eigenlayer, everything else is either fairly minimally up, or as we can see, kind of the majority of the market is in fact down. So I think this has kind of been the story. Obviously, we saw that pretty nice pump kind of throughout the market for the past couple of weeks, or I guess about 3 weeks to about a week ago. And then about last week, we saw things kind of start to pull back a little bit. Things have been coming down. If we look into the ICP chart, we can see, obviously we did see this pretty decent run up. Obviously, we had a bit of a pullback here in the middle, but a pretty decent run up, almost cracked $10, and then we've come down, pretty aggressively, kind of leveled out here, and then we've kind of jumped back above, and we're kind of sitting on the trend line, maybe even just a little bit below it currently, of this wedge that we were forming. So obviously, holding above this would be ideal, but kind of where we're at is we're mainly sitting between these two levels of support and resistance at this point in time. Overall, price action really hasn't done a whole lot within the past couple of days. This goes for ICP, this goes for Bitcoin, this goes for Ethereum. Everything's kind of pretty kind of not moving very much as far as price action is concerned. I think right now, kind of the overall market is kind of playing a bit of a wait and see game. Obviously we have some bullish factors entering the market with rate cuts and potential fiscal bailouts with, there's a lot coming out of China that they're actually acting pretty aggressively to pump liquidity into their markets. Obviously, that impacts the global market, given that they are the second largest economy in the world. We also have, potential fears of a wider war in the Middle East. We've got the US elections coming up. There's a lot of things, both potentially positive and potentially negative, that could kind of be happening within the next month or so. And so I think right now the markets overall are kind of just playing the wait and see game. We can see, volume hasn't really trailed off too much. It's just there's quite a bit of kind of price consolidation within these relatively packed areas, I guess we could say. And so what I'm imagining is that when price does break, it will probably break pretty aggressively to one side or the other. However, we obviously don't know what that's going to be. And so this is something where it's usually a little bit of a risky time to trade. If you do want to trade though, trading these small moves, sometimes, you can figure these pretty well, especially as I've said before, when we range trade, you kind of know where the tops and bottoms are going to be, at least with a certain level of confidence. So if that's something you do want to trade, you can feel free to use my Margex link. There's no KYC or VPN required. That's in the description, and they do up to $10,000 in deposit bonuses. Also, one that I have been testing out recently as well is WEEX. WEEX has been kind of interesting too, because from at least what I can see, that the trading fees do seem to be quite a bit lower. There's also far more trading pairs, and also they just do spot trading as well. I know there are a lot of people who don't really like leverage trading, which I completely understand. I mean, leverage trading, in my opinion, is definitely for kind of quick moves. If you don't feel like you're good at kind of predicting the market or knowing how to play the market and understanding those quick moves, leverage trading is probably not a great idea. However, spot trading, you're just holding the coin, right? And there's no way you can get liquidated, which in a market like right now, it would actually be a really, really good thing, because obviously, you may not be making the outsized gains if you actually predict the market correctly, but you're also not going to be getting liquidated and losing everything, which is also, that's a benefit. They also do have a welcome bonus for 380 USDT. Honestly, this is one of the more reasonable welcome bonuses that I've seen. I think it one's KYC, one's connect, two-factor authentication, things like that. So things that are relatively easy to do. I've seen welcome bonuses before in the past where it's like, oh yeah, here's $3 for signing up, and to get the remaining $387 or $77, it's trade 10 million in volume. And that's definitely not what it seems to be here. These welcome bonuses do seem to be pretty achievable. So if you're interested in checking WEEX out, I also have that link in my description as well. I have been pretty happy with this one. I'm considering, potentially moving my trading over to WEEX instead of Margex. Both kind of have their pluses and minuses. Currently, I still kind of do just stick with Margex because, as I've mentioned, I do basically all of my charting in here, and I haven't really wanted to move my charting over to a different system yet, just because I have been testing out a couple others so far as well. So that, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm sticking with Margex for now, but WEEX is one that I've actually definitely been pretty pleased with, and I'm considering a little bit further. But anyway, moving back to ICP, what we can see here is these moves are relatively muted right now, right? And one thing that we've seen, probably if you've been on X or anywhere kind of in the cryptoverse, we've seen a lot of FUD with ICP because, ICP went up, almost cracked $10 and has since kind of come down and been struggling. All the while, meme coins have been doing relatively well overall. And so, there is kind of an explanation for this. Meme coins typically usually go up a lot harder and down a lot harder, when the market is good and bad. Also, there is one thing, I'm actually probably going to be releasing a video about this exact thing later today, but memes have just kind of seemed to kind of outperform the market as a whole this cycle. And so one thing that I'm planning on talking about in this upcoming video is kind of just discussing, are memes maybe going to be the big winner of this cycle? Last cycle it was kind of layer ones and the Ethereum killers and which one was going to be able to provide interoperability, all that type of stuff. Obviously we saw a massive frenzy around kind of the interoperability, solving the trilemma, the blockchain trilemma, all that type of stuff. That was all kind of the big narratives of last bull run. This one, it could just be memes, right? That is an option. And so I want to talk a little bit further about that. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll have that in another video. But that's kind of what we've been seeing, at least as far as some of the FUD that we've been seeing with ICP is, well, it couldn't even crack $10 and now it's coming back and struggling while memes are doing, really, really well. And yes, sure, that is the case. But again, we have to remember that, sometimes price doesn't follow actual reality in terms of what something is doing. I've kind of mentioned this a couple times regarding the Ethereum ecosystem. Obviously Ethereum's price has been beaten down relatively hard, but if you look at how layer 2s have been doing just kind of wholesale, they've really done quite well, and lowering the ETH gas fees and a lot of this stuff, like all of the stuff that was intended has kind of happened as it was intended. So there's a lot of really positive developments going on within the ETH ecosystem. I would say the same thing here with ICP. If we look at the ICP dashboard, we have basically every metric imaginable to back this up. So this is kind of what I want to get into as far as, yes, okay, sure, ICP has been struggling a little bit, and there's only really one thing in here that I would say is moderately valid with some of these people who are voicing concerns about the ICP ecosystem. But otherwise, everything looks really, really good. If we look at canister states, we can see, that's great growth, right? This is on a year time frame. I think this is kind of exactly what you'd hope to see over the course of a year, especially ever since, kind of middle of August, we've really seen a pretty strong uptick in terms of, the canisters deployed on the blockchain. Also, we can see, internet identities, that has moved up and grown, really quite well again over the past year. Great progress. Supply, this is the only thing that I will kind of give to the people who have maybe some concerns about the ICP ecosystem, is ICP is definitely, consistently continuing to inflate, which is not awesome overall. It's not something I love to see. I do actually have a video, my recent family event that I was at last weekend, which took me away from posting YouTube videos, that cut into my research time kind of a decent amount. So I haven't been able to post this video yet, but I do plan on posting a video discussing ICP's inflation specifically, just because this is one of the major concerns that people do bring up. And so, this is one that is a concern, remains a concern, and is something that we'll have to kind of, see and kind of keep tabs on as we continue down the road of ICP and its development and all that type of stuff. The other thing we can see is ICP transactions. Again, same type of thing. We're seeing really, really strong growth. This is over doubled in a year, which is really, really great news. That's what we'd want to see. And then here, probably some of the best news is ICP burned. We've seen 336,000 ICP burned. Obviously, before that, we were at 173 in this, the whole Bob and kind of meme coins on ICP. This has really, really ballooned the burn rates on ICP, which is really, really cool. This is something that, I think a lot of people point to when they look at the health of the chain. If we look at canisters here, again, canisters over the past year over doubled at this point. So, tons of development, tons of activity. Cycle burn rate is another one. I mean, if we look at this over the past year, I mean, it was very, very, very small. And then obviously we saw that massive spike with the release of Bob. And then it has come down. But even still, even if we look at the most recent, we're sitting at what, like 150 billion is that? Yeah, about 150 billion. Before the whole Bob thing, we were what, 10, 13? So, I mean, we're still well over 10x. Kind of where we were prior to this whole Bob thing. And so this is definitely what we want to see. Things are looking really, really strong, in my opinion, kind of wholesale through the ICP ecosystem. As I mentioned, the only thing that is of minor concern is, the continually inflating supply. But again, that's something that will continue to slow. From my understanding, we've had some pretty large unlocks from kind of the early investors. As these start to vest, these unlocks definitely slow down a lot and the level of inflation goes down relatively dramatically. So again, something to consider. Also, we can't track node machines over time, but if you were to go through and look at my initial video, I think it was like high 1300s. So, I mean, we're definitely seeing strong growth here in terms of total nodes within the network. So overall, we're seeing a lot of really healthy and strong development within the ICP ecosystem. So this kind of brings me back to the point of, I mean, yes, price is there's a level of concern when it comes to price, but I mean, a lot of times, look at the stock market, right? I mean, the stock market moves kind of unrelated, like the development of actually strong, fundamentally sound companies and price are sometimes unrelated, right? I mean, if, we have a crash, even look at the COVID crash, right? I mean, how many tech companies crashed 50%? What fundamentally changed about those tech companies, especially tech companies? Because, I mean, we were locked down. That doesn't change your ability to interact with like a phone or anything, right? Like, so there's a lot of stuff where like panic or public sentiment or things like this set in, and it causes something to happen to the price that may be completely unrelated to the true value of the project. And that's something where, if correctly identified, can actually serve pretty well to make some outsized gains as compared to the rest of the market. Obviously, if people are selling ICP because it just seems cool to be selling ICP at this point in time, but the ICP market fundamentally, as we've seen, looks really, really strong. Well, then if you buy the ICP at a 20% discount from what it was a couple weeks ago, when nothing's fundamentally really changed, you just got the same thing for 20% less than what you would have gotten it for 2 weeks ago, right? And so that's kind of the way I like to compare and kind of, I guess, set some of these expectations up when looking at crypto projects specifically. I know with crypto, it can be particularly hard just because there's so much uncertainty and kind of vague ambiguity with some of these projects. Sometimes it can be really hard to kind of really find what the truth is. So I do understand that it can be difficult, particularly with the amount of speculation within the industry. But however, when we're looking at stats like this, and like I've pointed out before with Ethereum and things like that, I mean, the numbers don't lie to a certain extent, right? And so if what they are creating truly is valuable, then people will come back to it. And so that's kind of the way that I look at it. So hopefully this was helpful. Usually when we start to see price deviate from the value of something, I usually want to bring it up just to kind of keep people kind of focused and grounded on, at least in my opinion, where the value lies within a project. You obviously have to do your own research. You should not be taking this as financial advice just blindly. You should really be doing your own research and making sure that you agree with my assessment on the value of the project, because maybe I've got something wrong and maybe there's something that that I don't, that it has fundamentally changed the value of ICP, and the 20% decrease in price is actually warranted. So, that's something that, is always a possibility. But overall, hopefully that makes sense, kind of what I'm getting at and why that makes sense. So anyway, if you did find the information in this video useful, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really, really does help me out. I do still have that goal to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know, it definitely is quite a tall task, but with your support, I'm hoping that maybe I could get there. So anyway, also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, whatever, please feel free to leave them, in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of my comments. So if you have anything that you want me to see or want my opinion on or whatever, please feel free to just drop that in the comment section and I'll be getting back to you on that. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.